Well, the American Farm Bureau is urging USDA to accept the petition of the National Milk Producers Federation for a federal milk marketing order hearing, underscoring the need to protect farmers and consumers. Alan Bjerga joins us now from our Washington, D.C. News Bureau for an update. Thanks so much for your time, Alan. Let's start with an update on where dairy stands on milk pricing. What's the status of your proposal at USDA right now, and how does Farm Bureau's endorsement of your position help the process?
So our proposal was submitted to USDA on May 1st. They have 30 days to consider the proposal and decide what components, if any, they may accept for a federal order hearing. They can also ask for more information, or they can just say thumbs down. We're pretty confident that possibility 3 won't happen. Number 2 does happen sometimes, but we're going for number 1. And I think that when you take a look at the support that you've had in the dairy community, you know, once again, National Milk Producers Federation represents 2/3 of the milk of America, and we had a unanimously passed proposal from our board meeting. So you already have a strong majority consensus among America's dairy producers. Now let's take a look at the American Farm Bureau Federation. You know, that 1/3 of the milk that isn't represented by NMPF, a lot of those folks are Farm Bureau members. And so when you take a look at the coalition that's being assembled, the leadership that's being shown in the agricultural community, with NMPF putting together this plan, and the Farm Bureau, which has also done some interesting and very high quality work on this topic, to be able to come in and join together and say, you know what, this is the plan that dairy should go forward with. It can do nothing but help the process forward. We're very hopeful that USDA will be able to grant that federal order hearing request, and we can keep moving with this process with all due speed.
You would think that there wouldn't be any pushback because it just makes sense. As a mom, I know how important having that milk for my son is. I know other moms feel the same way. Along with policy, though, there's always the need to respond to critics. How are you working to tell a positive story about dairy, and how hard has that become for you?
Well, you know, it's a challenging information environment, right? I just got back from some meetings in Chicago where some of the top folks in dairy communications were talking about some of the changing environment we have. You know, the old saying is, as a lie can make its way around the world while the truth is still putting on its shoes. And that's more true now than ever. When you take a look at some of the flat-out misinformation you see from some of the critics from dairy, when you see some of the well-organized advocacy campaigns where sometimes they'll be saying one thing, but the agenda is something else, you really need to be nimble. And you're seeing a lot of resources being taking a look at these issues, you know, pointing out about the importance of dairy nutrition for children like your own, and really for people of all spans of life. You know, you take a look at dairy being underconsumed by about 90% of the U.S. population under the dietary guidelines. You know, this is the time when we need to increase access and availability for dairy for all populations, and that includes lactose intolerant populations that can be served by certain dairy products. It means a variety of dairy products that can meet people's needs, but it also means fighting this misinformation that you see in the marketplace that's making it harder for dairy farmers to get their products onto people's tables every day.
The voices are few and far between, but they're so loud. They almost have a megaphone, it seems like. Is there anything that we should be watching for in the next few months? Where does this go from here?
Well, I'll tell you one thing that came up is, you know, you talk about people caring about dairy. You know, milk is in more than 90% of U.S. refrigerators, and yet you see advocates of, say, plant-based beverages or such trying to pull this into politics and the culture wars. We've got to really stop that. You know, this is not a 50-50 issue. This is a 90-10 issue. But like you say, there's that loud and vocal minority, and they all got their megaphones on their Twitter accounts now. We got to do something about it.
Absolutely, and we want to help you. Thank you so much for joining us. Alan Bjerga with the National Milk Producers Federation. Really appreciate your time.